Hey, here are 5 stupid things I've noticed about the 10 Commandments. They're unnecessary. By the time God finally gets around to handing those stone tablets down to Moses in chapter 20 of Exodus, the creation, the fall of man, the first murder, the flood, the sufferings of Job, the covenant with Abraham, the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah, the Egyptian enslavement, and a bunch of other shit has already gone down. For all their faults, the Israelites had at least made it this far, so you would think they would have figured out that they were better off not robbing and murdering each other for themselves. And if God did think that the 10 Commandments were so necessary, why'd he wait so damn long before, commanding them? Whether they're redundant or belated, it's hard to figure why God bothered with them at all, except as an exercise in naked territory marking. Which, actually, they're repetitive. The first 3 or 4 of the 10 Commandments are essentially the same. God asserts his authority and demands respect. Even the commandment to refrain from working on the Sabbath is a minor variation on that theme. Thou shalt remember the Sabbath and keep it holy, not because you work hard all week and you deserve a day off, or because you'd be better off spending that time with your family, but because God rested on the 7th day, and God damn it, so will you. You think you're going to show up the creator of the universe by working longer hours than he did? Is Yahweh going to have to choke a bitch? They're poorly prioritized. Seems like God could have limited the dick waving to 1 commandment and then spent those extra 3 officially condemning some other sorts of crimes and abuses. I mean, sure, murder and theft and adultery and lying, those are all perfectly fine things to condemn. But what about rape? Or child abuse? Or exploitation of the poor? Or slavery? Now, I know many Jews and Christians would argue that the Bible actually does condemn those things, but see, that's open for debate because they sure as hell didn't make the top 10, did they? What does the amount of space devoted to exacting tribute and obedience relative to the amount of space used to call people to moral behavior say about God? What does it say about the commandments themselves? They're an inferior moral guide. And really, how could they not be? The 10 Commandments originated between 2,500 and 3,000 years ago, before science or modern concepts of government, human rights, or equality even existed. And sure, like the Bible as a whole, the 10 Commandments have great literary, cultural, and even in some sense historical value. But to suggest that they should form the basis of morality and law in our modern society is kind of nuts. Sure, there's some good stuff in there, but none of it is unique or original to the 10 Commandments, and we've managed to greatly improve on most of it since. The suggestion that the commandments should form the basis for law is especially galling, since in addition to being morally inferior, they're antidemocratic. The 10 Commandments and the U.S. Constitution are very different documents, not just in their content and their purpose, that much is obvious, but in their character. The next time an American Christian insists the 10 Commandments are the basis of laws in the U.S., think about this. The 10 Commandments explicitly forbid religious freedom, seek to dictate private behavior, when you can work, who you can fuck, how you should feel about your parents, and demand absolute obedience to an all-powerful, unappealable authority. Does that sound compatible with the U.S. Constitution, which guarantees religious freedom, offers protection from unjustified invasion of privacy by the state, and establishes a government limited by the rule of law and accountable to the people? Here's the most important difference between the 10 Commandments and the Constitution. You can amend the Constitution. Christians love to brag about how God's Word never changes, as though the capacity to evolve is some kind of a weakness. But it's that so-called weakness that we have to thank for the fact that today the Constitution forbids slavery, while the Ten Commandments remain as damningly silent on the subject as they have always been. The hardest part is only picking 5. Catch you next time.